The I.M.F is one institution which has been very kind and very merciful to the affairs of Africa through the monies which they give us sometimes.
Like kind.
You
want to talk about the Economic Structural Adjustment Program in Zimbabwe, ISAP, and you want to call that kind? You want to talk about the structural sanctions that have been going on in Southern Africa, and call that kind? You want to talk about the liberation struggles that Southern Africa has gone through to fight for democracy, and you call that kind? If democracy was the best way of governance, then why did we fight for it? Why didn't we give it for free? But in case you need more information, I come to your house and I steal a golden bar at $100, and I take it to my house. Enjoy this one. 5 years later, 10 years later, the bar that I stole for $100 is now worth $10,000. All right. Then I organize $300. Then I'm saying I'm donating it back to you. There is something called a sovereign fund in international bodies, which is the profits of the raw material that were illegally taken away from Africa, but they've matured in price with the colonizer. Now they will borrow you your own money back as donor money. We don't own nobody nothing. The law, if they believed in the law, if you steal something from me and its value appreciates way beyond the value that you stole it for or took it away from, you owe it to me on the sovereign fund to return at least to me some of the amount that you have stolen. Christians are out there, they read the Bible, but they read in a hurry. Zacchaeus says, if there is any man out there that I stole from, I will refund him 4 times the amount that I took from him. You know what that means? I stole your $100. Now it's worth $10,000. I'm willing to share with you $400. I'll still remain with my $6,460 untouched, so to speak. Not even 6,000. If I give you 400 back, I remain with 960. So even the amount that they're giving to us as donor money, it's a fraction of the total amount of wealth that was stolen from the African people. It's not donor money. We are being borrowed our own money against our own resources that were not paid properly.
You call it stealing, King. You call it stealing because I think you are being unfair if you are going to describe other races or other individuals as stealing. Because you need to realize, or you do know for a fact, that we live in a global world, and therefore we need to ensure that we
Young man,
interact together.
In my old age, I cannot legitimize the ripping of raw materials and using legal systems that are colonially instituted in Africa to protect the same multinational companies, and you call it a business transaction. There's no business transaction like that. That turns the copper belt into a dump site of copper, and yet the people in the copper belt are still walking barefoot. And because the legislation framework allows them to take that mineral, then don't call it stealing. I call it stealing, sir. I call it stealing. Because you have no ethics and morality to deprive people of their own value, to deprive people of their own minerals, to deprive people of their own oil in Nigeria. That pipe runs through dilapidated villages, people barely making it living. But BP Shell is pulling out millions and gallons of oil away from Nigeria. And you don't call that stealing? Because the government has the law, and the law which is Roman Dutch. If we are running under a Roman Dutch law, then why not give us passports for Roman Dutch? Why not give us passports for America and Deutschland? Because we are, and by the way, this is me in my own mischievous thinking. If you have a law that is called Roman Dutch, the first thing you need on law is what we call jurisdiction. So what is the jurisdiction of Roman Dutch? It must be Rome and Deutschland. So how do you take a Roman Dutch law and bring it to Zambia, and then you sit in front of me here and you want to legitimize a colonial system that entrenches a law so that they can steal? So hear me very well. The legal system is an official way of multinational companies stealing resources from their own people.
You've given an example of Copper Belt, which you've cited. Of course, not only Copper Belt here in Zambia, there are so many places where the same mineral resources are said to be, in the hands of the superpower countries. But the truth is, King Maponga, you are aware that Africans or no any other country in Africa is capable to manage the mines because of we don't have the machinery to begin to process those minerals that we have today. Hence, the involvement of our friends, I call them friends, from the West, Europe,
let's call
China,
them frenemies. They're not friends. They are enemies who are pretending to be friends. Let's call them frenemies. That's a new word for you. Huh? They're frenemies. They look like friends, but they're not friends. Now, this is where, when I'm talking, you must hear me twice. When I'm saying we need to decolonize even education, that is the context I'm coming from. You blatantly want to admit that we don't have the knowledge, we don't have the skills, we don't have the machinery. Like, really? Then what is the use of our universities? What is the use of our technical colleges? What is the use of the Department of Mining? What is the use of Department of Commerce? Why not go out there like the Chinese did? Buy the damn mine, rent out and hire the engineers. Bring them to your own colleges and teach your own young people how to use these machines. And you walk up to any of these mines around, how many white people are in there? Are there not black people working there? So at the end of the day, with a cankered, rotten system that doesn't want to look the devil in the eye and say the education which we are giving our children is not connected to the resources that they have on the ground. So even after they get educated, they still walk around and say, but we don't have capacity, we don't have the education, we don't have the skills. If you don't have the skills, then why did you go to school? Then what were you doing in school? Learning how many legs does a grasshopper have? Then you say you're educated. Then it means that the weakest link is not only the mining sector. The weakest link is the education and technical colleges that are producing engineers, electricians, who can't even go as Zambians and look at the copper belt as a source of resource and say, how do we take our knowledge system and